what we do and what TVA is and why you should want to come and work for us and intern with us. So we've got a great lineup of speakers for you. I'll first let Tamara Stewart go ahead and talk, and each group that's going to be presenting today, our transmission group, our power operations group, and our IT group, all of them will introduce themselves as we get to their section, so I won't take up any of their time giving intros for them. So Tamara, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Kelsey. Let me just make sure everybody can hear me. Can y'all hear me? I've been having issues with my audio all day. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and present to you all today a little bit of information about TVA and why we think it's a great place to work. I'm Tamara Stewart. I have been at TVA for 9 years in a variety of roles across multiple parts of the business. Currently, I am a manager in HR in our Solutions Center, where we take employee and retiree phone calls and try to handle their HR needs. But right before that role, like literally I got that role like 2 weeks ago. Up until that time, I was in the intern program doing recruiting and trying to attract talent from colleges and universities to come to TVA. And so I'll talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, and then I'll turn it over to my good friend Tim, who serves on our University Relations Advisory Group. So next slide, please. So TVA is a federally owned company that was founded in 1933 with the installation of the TVA Act. Our mission is to make life better for the residents of the Tennessee Valley. And we accomplish that through 3 main E's that we focus on, which is the production of energy, the focus on environment and environmental stewardship and managing waterways and things of that nature, and then bringing about economic development. And I love talking about, you know, what the tie-in to economic development is, because people are like, well, how does making electricity tie into economic development? Well, when you start looking at companies making the decision about where they want to come, one of the main things they look at is the reliability of the electric system in that area, as well as the cost. And so by maintaining a reliable system and having low rates as economically feasibly and low as possible, we are able to attract companies to the Tennessee Valley that bring with them jobs and investments in our communities, which is one of the ways that we serve the Valley to make life better for the people of it. We do have a mission of service, and it's one of the things that I'm most proud of, because every single day when we come to work, we know that we are making our immediate communities better and impacting the lives of ourselves and our neighbors every single day. And so that's an awesome mission to aspire to and ascribe to, and to know every single day when you come to work that you're doing the best that you can to make your immediate community a better place to live, work, and play. Part of our power generation mix is what I'll call it. We have nuclear. We also have some hydro facilities, and we do have, as I spoke to, you know, managing the waterways. We leverage the hydro that we get from those waterways to help us make electricity. We have coal and gas, and we also have some solar and wind that we use within our whole portfolio to help us with the production of electricity, and then how we take that and convert it to energy and sell it to local power companies. And lastly, I will talk a little bit about our mission, our culture of safety, and how we accomplish the mission. Because when you're doing that kind of work, you know, and we recently had tornadoes in Chattanooga, and there was all kind of video out there of linemen, you know, going up poles and stringing electric wires and, you know, hanging down from helicopters to make sure that the transmission lines were safe and secure. And so there are lots of dangerous parts of what we do every single day. And we are intensely focused on a culture of safety to ensure that everyone is able to go home the way that they came to work, which is with all of their faculties, with all of their health. And so we make that a part of our culture by talking about it in every meeting and really, you know, encouraging people to intervene and make sure that they care about their fellow employees and how they accomplish their work, but also in intervening when they see unsafe behavior. Next slide. So this is our service territory. We touch 7 different states. They're the contiguous states that touch the border of Tennessee. And we, as we stated, impact about 10 million lives. That number fluctuates depending on the population, but I just looked at the website to confirm we have 10 million out there today. It used to be 9 million. But this is the fence, was what we call this, which is our service area. And it's really exciting and fun to see how we produce power and manage waterways. And we have parks and recreational areas across this whole fence region, which is our service territory. And it really gives us the ability to make all of those things work together to bring about industry and economic development to all of the areas that are impacted within our fence. Next slide, please. This is a little bit of our company breakdown. We generate about 33,000 megawatts of capacity at any given time. Right now, we're in a conservative operations alert, which means that the weather, is impacting the demand, and so we're all at a little bit of a heightened awareness. We've got a lot of people at home, a lot of people using the air. The temps are high, and so we balance that to make sure that we are producing the amount that we need to produce, and we also have relationships where we can buy if we need to. We've got 293,000 acres of reservoir land that we also manage, and that's land that's adjacent to waterways. That is land where we have all of our assets and things that are stationed to help us with the production of power. I mentioned local power companies earlier. We sell our electricity to local power companies and directly serve customers. Our directly served customers are generally federal installations and large manufacturing industries where they've got to have a certain level of reliability, and they bypass kind of the local power company structure and buy their power directly from us. And we bring in about $8.9 billion worth of capital investments in the Tennessee Valley, and that's because of the reliability of our power and us maintaining our rates as low as feasible. Our customers, as I mentioned, directly served. We've got some exchange power that we do, buying and selling. The federal agencies that I just spoke of, the federal installations, think large military bases, and then our local power companies make up our customer base. Next slide, please. And then Kelsey wanted me to talk a little bit about employee resource groups because it's one of the ways that we aim to serve our employee base. And I think it's one of the things that makes us a great place to work. We've got a lot of ways for employees to stay engaged and to support each other, to learn and develop themselves and take on non-traditional leadership roles and get more invested in improving the culture of TVA. And so we have 9 employee resource groups that are employee-led, employee-operated, and they set the business plan for the group, all of the events that we do. The champions of each of these groups get together on a regular basis and talk about the culture and how we can be more diverse and how we can be more inclusive even within our diversity. And we collaborate often. I'm the champion for African American Voices. We collaborate often on how we might engage not just our intern population, but also our employee base to foster conversations and bring about inclusivity so that everyone feels that they can bring 100% of themselves to work 100% of the time to accomplish the mission of TVA. Next, I will turn it over to my good friend, Tim Fritch, who's the manager of reliability analysis, and with some help by Kevin Bunch, who's his current intern. And I'll just say one of my favorites, even though he didn't pay me to say that, but he's very engaged and he asks great questions when we have our conversations. So Tim and Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Tamara. I'll give you money later on that. Appreciate that. So as Tamara said, my name's Tim Fritch. I am the manager of the Transmission Reliability Analysis Group here at TVA. So our group supports the transmission operators. So hot days like today or what we've been experiencing recently, of course, we have transmission operators that are bringing lines in service, bringing generation online to meet people's load demand where they're running their air conditioners, running lights. So that's the group that we support. We're the engineering support team for essentially the operators for transmission operations and the balancing authority, and also the reliability coordinators. So we have reliability coordinator operators that ensure that power gets safely from the plants to your homes. And so that is, again, what we do. We support them in any way we can with doing studies or coming up with procedures or mitigation plans if they run into issues. I've been in TVA for 16 years now. I worked in transmission planning for 10 of those years, and I've been in operations the other 6 years. As Tamara mentioned, I've got Kevin Bunch here with me. He is one of our interns. He is from UTC, and he's been in our group for a while, and he'll be sharing with us in a few minutes about his experience at TVA as an intern. All right, next slide, please. Let's see. So we'll touch on this. Tamara kind of already hit on a lot of this, but as far as just the service territory, you can see the valley we serve, 80,000 square miles, 7 states. So again, she mentioned the 10 million customers, and then of course we have the 154. Actually, that's 153 now local power companies, and then 54 direct serves. So. Next slide. So this I wanted to kind of touch on a little more. Again, this is the watershed or the region of the service territory that we serve within transmission. And so you can see the outline, what Tamara talked about earlier, but what is important here is shown what's overlaid on top of that, and that is our transmission grid. The red lines depict the 161 kV or 161,000 volt transmission lines, and the yellow are the 500,000 volt lines. Now, it may be hard to see. I know this is kind of an eye chart, but it's to give you kind of an idea of our transmission system spreads throughout our whole service territory. And the 500,000 volt lines, of course, are kind of a backbone of our system. And so when we're talking about getting power from the plants to the end user, you know, the homes, the residential homes, those come from our plants over on our backbone of our system, some of them over the 500,000 volts, some over the 161 system. And then we drop it down to where the LPCs, we feed those 153 local power companies, and then they serve it to your home. So with just our transmission system alone, not what the local power companies have, we have over 16,000 miles of transmission lines. And then you can see we have a little over 500 substations. And then we have over 1,300 customer connection points. And of course, what that just means is, like Chattanooga EPB, they may have 20 customer delivery points where we serve them, and then they will serve down to the residential home. So a lot of customer connection points across the valley serving those 153 local power companies. All right, next slide, please. So I'm not going to get into this a whole lot. It's a lot of detail, but Tamara mentioned it earlier. What is important to TVA? Well, reliability is extremely important to TVA, and it's extremely important to our local power companies and the industries that are coming in to land, new jobs and new manufacturing. None of us like to be without power, right? Especially as hot as it is. So this just shows us how we measure our reliability. To say you have good reliability could be very subjective, but to show how you measure it and put numbers behind it, it kind of equates you to how you compare to others within the industry. So you'll hear people say for TVA, we have 5 nines of reliability. And all that is trying to equate how often our transmission system is down from an interruption over a certain time period. So like for 2019, we only had 3.7 system minutes where we were not able to serve load. And so it shows here you've got 0.1 minutes of load not served, LNS, is equal to about 30 megawatt hours of interrupted load, which is pretty good. So if you go to the next slide, again, there's just a lot of details here, but this is the calculation of how we do that. Essentially, how much of load were we not able to serve over the amount of load we did serve plus the ones that we didn't serve times the time period. And so you can see the example there of how that's broken down. If you had 1,100 megawatt hours of load not served over that plus the amount of load that you did serve times whatever time period here being 525,000 minutes a year, comes up to 3.8 system minutes. All that to say, we pride ourselves on this, and this is what really brings in interest with bringing in businesses into the valley, high reliability. Okay, next slide, please. So speaking of which, Tamara kind of touched on this, right? There are a lot of industries that are looking for reliability, which we just talked about, but they're looking for rates, right? Low rates. We all want lower power bills. They're also looking for renewables. So these are some of the industries that we have looked at, have landed here at TVA recently because of, again, high reliability, low rates, and our vision for renewables. And some of these I'm sure you guys have seen, are familiar with. Some may not be, some are maybe not as well known within this local area, but again, some big names that we're bringing to the Valley with jobs and long-term commitments because of having a great mix of all those three components I mentioned. All right. Resiliency. So this, again, you're seeing a theme here, reliability, right? We're always looking at ways to improve our reliability. We've set up several initiatives within transmission to increase our system reliability in using new technology. Of course, weather events are hard, right? That's hard. You can't control the weather, but you can sure control how you dispatch guys out to repair big lines that are down or towers like that are shown here. In this picture, Tamara mentioned earlier, we've had a few tornadoes recently, some in the Chattanooga area where we had to send out guys, you know, to restore the lines and get power back to the grid and to people's homes. So we're always looking at ways to reduce that recovery time down. Cybersecurity, you've seen it on the news. That's big across everyone's sector, right? I mean, that's just something that we're always going to have, and it's getting more and more popular. And of course, it's very important with the grid. We want to keep our grid cyber secure so that we have full control over it and somebody cannot control the grid to cause damage. I won't go through all these. Geomagnetic disturbance, of course, that's being with solar flares. That's becoming more of an issue as we're more aware of it. We have set up instrumentation with DOE across the grid to help monitor this, of how these disturbances, these solar flares are impacting our transmission system. It's really interesting. And then electromagnetic pulses, again, a way that terrorists are looking at impacting the grid. And this is something TVA has been highly involved in, of how do we protect our grid from these type of events. All right, next slide. So another big initiative within the transmission system here at TVA is Grid 2023. Looking, of course, that's coming up quick, right? But the intent here is looking to the future. So think of this as like grid of the future. We are looking at building a new control center. Right now we have two control centers, primary and backup. And so we have what we call the System Operations Center. Is one of them. And so you see a picture here that says new SOC. So that would be, it's a rendering of what we're looking at building in the near future to replace our old control center. It would have, of course, modern wall displays, again, shown there in the picture on the right where it says new EMS, sorry. And so it was just something we're moving towards. You've probably seen some of this in the news. But it's going to open up a lot of doors for capability for TVA with this new control center. So, all right, next slide. So as part of Grid of the Future or Grid 2023, these are some of the big initiatives we're looking at TVA. Again, equipment health monitoring. We have some equipment, transmission lines, transformers that are 80 plus years old. So we're trying to get better about, okay, instead of having a blanket approach of we got to do just this repetition, how can we use data, again, data analytics is shown there, to help monitor our system to address issues in a more systematic way using our data. Grid visibility, I'll talk a little bit about that. Drones, everybody knows what drones are. We're trying to get better at using drones. We have several we use now within TVA that have helped us a lot. And that's something we'll continue to grow in, especially around restoration projects. All right, next slide. Grid visibility, again, this affects with our team, the group I support in transmission operations. How do we use technology devices that are out there to gain better awareness for operators? I think about now, a good analogy is, and you've probably heard this, but you know, our phones, right? Our phones are cameras. They're voice recorders. You have tons of apps. You use them as a phone. There's so many different aspects that a phone has now that it used to not have. And that's what we're trying to do with our operators. Instead of having a monitor with this tool on it and a monitor with this tool, bringing a tool that has all of that together, a comprehensive tool that pulls all of these different applications together and creates this situational awareness. And that's really what this team is working on. Again, it's new technology, and we're very excited about it, about how it will help us with restoration and making our grid more reliable. Okay, next slide. Visualization, I kind of touched on it, but you can see here having more awareness to our operators, whether it be weather fronts, having more visualization for where our crews are when we're doing restoration or building new lines. Again, right now it's very siloed of how we bring all that into our operators, our transmission operators. And so these are just some maps that we're looking at. How do we incorporate all of this data that we're now getting into just a few platforms where they can access this. All right, next slide. So just to sum it up for transmission, I know this is kind of high level. You know, for us, it really is keeping the lights on. It's ensuring power is delivered from our facilities that we're going to talk about in a minute, our generating facilities, to the home user, the end user, which is you and I. And so we're always, you know, safety is number one, continuing to provide reliable power, and then always looking at ways to improve. You've seen several initiatives we have here within transmission of ways, not only can we improve it for the customers of the Valley, but for the industry. TVA is looked at as an industry leader, and we take that with pride. And so it's really improving the value, or improving the life for everybody around us as well. So, all right. So next slide, I'll just talk about, Tamara mentioned about our interns, and I want to share a little bit about how we utilize interns within transmission. So we use our interns a whole lot like entry-level engineers. we give them a lot of responsibility. We give them a taste of, hey, what is it like being an engineer? And a lot of them really value that. And Kevin can talk more about that in a minute. But I was an intern at TVA for 2 years, and it was a great experience. And so I would encourage anybody that's interested in, you know, please look into that, because you learn so much. And the way we use them in transmission, and I know this is probably across the board at TVA, we really expose our interns to a lot. So they get to work with professional engineers on a daily basis. They get exposed to a lot of the aspects we have within transmission, right? I have on here plan, design, build, operate, maintain. That's kind of our mantra within transmission. We do all that. And so the other piece is, you know, we get them involved on daily reports, documents, things that are used in the workflow. So it's not just, hey, can you bring me some coffee? You know, it's, hey, I need these drawings updated. I need your help on this. I need these reports. And they're looked at as a key component of our day-to-day work. And also I have on here involved in testing and setting up new technology. One thing I didn't mention is, again, TVA is involved in a lot of new innovation. And so we've had interns in the past that have worked on new devices that monitor voltage and currents and things out on the system. And we've had interns that have worked through that on troubleshooting, setting up, configuring these systems. So again, I hope the takeaway here is all the work that we have with our interns and how we get them exposed to our day in, day out stuff. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Bunch, who interns in our group, and he's going to give you a little bit of synopsis of what he deals with and his experience within transmission. Kevin?
Thanks, Tim. Hey guys, my name is Kevin Bunch. I'll be a senior at UTC starting in the fall. Electrical engineer degree, focusing on power systems. And I've been in this group and started at TVA since January. And pretty much like Tim said, very much treat us like entry-level engineers. You know, I'm doing daily, weekly, monthly reports, things that are integral to their daily work duties. You know, they're not just giving us busy work, because if we weren't there doing it, they'd have to do it themselves. You know, someone has to do it. So it's really good about giving us things that we can do with, you know, very little experience or knowledge. And it really opens up the door to ask questions and learn. You know, they throw me in. I'm always on all their calls, you know, conference calls during the day. And while sure, a lot of it's over my head, it's good to hear those things. I ask a lot of questions, and I've already noticed just, you know, this past spring semester that just things I hear and learn translates back to the class. Like, we'll be learning about things, and then like I'll recognize that term, and it's kind of nice when it clicks like that. And it is nice. It's a very nice experience, this internship. Everyone at TVA has been really helpful, really kind, and I'd love to stay on. You know, great experience so far. So, yeah, I feel like I'm actually kind of doing something. And, you know, as cliche as it sounds, you know, like, I feel like the work that I do in this group really does help, you know, them do their job, which is to keep the lights on. You know, you hear that a lot, but it's very true. So, I think it's a very good opportunity, a good experience if you guys can do that. I don't know if there are any other interns on this call or not, but you know, if anybody has any questions about it for me at all, I'll stay on after and be glad to answer.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. So that's all we have. I guess I'll turn it over to Wes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wes Schultz. Me and Breland Grant are going to be talking to you a little bit about power operations. I'm a controls engineer. Primarily, almost exclusively work in the hydro fleet on a system. Basically, it's referred to as hydro automation. So I support 29 plants, and I don't know Tim, but it sounds like we have a lot of overlap. I also support the Shift Operations Center. Part of that center has a section called Hydro Dispatch Control, and those are two operators that are always on shift, always monitoring and controlling the hydro plants 24/7, and we support them as well as the plants. So let's go ahead and start with the slides. So what is power operations? Well, this is where power is made, with the exception of TVA's 3 nuclear plants. This is where the power is made. So TVA is the nation's largest public utility. I don't know if that's been mentioned earlier, but it is. And it's not a private company. Some of you may know, if you had history class in Tennessee, I'm sure you know about TVA, but maybe you didn't. But TVA is like a pseudo-government, government-owned power corporation. And the power industry that we operate in is, no matter where you go, it's typically broken up into 3 sectors, and you got generation, transmission, and distribution. So TVA has generation and transmission. Distribution would be like EPB. So power operations is obviously in the generation part of that. So all the gas, hydro, and coal power plants, as well as generation services, which I'll get more into later. You could think of that as like corporate engineering for power generation, for power operations. So generation services is the kind of the cognizant decision-making organization supporting power operations. I fall underneath generation services. We support a wide range of programs. I've got it laid out here: planning, control systems, cybersecurity, outages, event analysis. When I say event analysis, is if a generator trips, we're going to study that trip, and we're going to find out why it happened and do our best to figure out what to do to not let that happen again. Monitoring and diagnostics. We have a monitoring and diagnostics center I'll talk about some more. It's a very interesting group there that helps a lot with these events not happening. They build software models and try to do predictive maintenance before bad things happen and we trip a unit and lose money. And we're also heavily involved in regulatory compliance. I won't get into what NERC is, but as as a high level thing. You know, the power industry is heavily regulated, and we participate in compliance, and we report to a organization called NERC that kind of sets standards for the power industry. In addition to that, we do benchmarking with other power companies too, and that just basically means we study what they're doing, and we kind of compare ourselves and see that we're, you know, up to snuff on what's going on, what's new, what are better ways to do things. Go ahead with the next slide there, please. So, so like I said, power operations involves all the power plants, with the exception of the 3 nuclear plants, which is, I don't have a raw number off the top of my head. I think Breland might have it later in this presentation, but a lot of plants. I know I work in hydro. There's 29 hydro plants, and there's also Raccoon Mountain, which is hydro, but it's kind of counted as a pump storage. It's basically a very large battery that we use to meet peak load demands. So we have on-site and regional engineers that support these plants out in the field. People like me at corporate call it the field. It's just where they go to work. But so I don't know what the internship opportunities are as far as working at a plant, but if you have the opportunity, I think this is the best place to learn about engineering in general, like especially in the power industry. But this is where you see everything in action. As far as power operations goes, for transmission, it would probably be substations and such, and switchyards, obviously, also at the plants. So what they do is they support daily operations, troubleshooting, obviously unit outages, and this is where some of the projects get started. They'll have an idea, and then they'll write up a suggestion for a project, and we have a system that it's called Copperleaf. It's just a software portal that these projects get reviewed, and upper management ends up deciding if we're going to spend money to do these projects and upgrades and so forth. So that's kind of the plant engineering side of things. I can't get into much more detail than that because I support the plants. I've never actually been a plant engineer, but I do travel to all of the hydro plants. So next slide, please. I think I got a map. Yeah, so to give you an idea of, there is travel involved. It's actually one of my favorite parts of this job is sometimes I'll be gone for, you know, as much as 3 days to a week, but typically I get to do a lot of day travel. If you see all the red dots on this map, those are the hydro facilities. So with the exception of that cluster of about 8 over there northeast of Memphis, pretty much all the other ones are power generating dams. And so I get to travel to all these sites and meet a lot of people. Everyone at TVA is I don't want to say everyone is great, but I'm telling you, this is the best job I've ever had. And I've worked plenty of other places. I'm an Air Force veteran, and before coming here, I worked at a naval shipyard on submarines, which is also a really cool job. But as far as TVA as an organization, this is by far the best group of people I've ever worked with. And it's just really fun to get to travel and work with a lot of these people. And also, you know, this isn't like a front to coal or gas, but the hydro sites are just always located in beautiful areas, almost always. I mean, I get to work in Cherokee National Forest half the time I go somewhere, so I just love it. If you ever floated the Coe River, the logic and the controllers I work on actually do the recreation for the whitewater there. So, I mean, there's just a lot of little cool things like that that are nuanced that I just don't think you get that kind of opportunity in just any company. But yeah, so the yellow dots are where the coal and gas sites are located. I don't know if this is 100% up to date, but I think it's pretty close to what we have right now. So next slide, please. Okay, so you might wonder what do we do downtown? So like Tim said, the Shift Operations Center is being moved. We're building a new one. Our group's going to be involved in that as well. But right now, the Shift Operations Center is located downtown, and it's a really, really cool place to see. It's it almost looks like a NASA launch control center. It's this massive room with just all these different operators that all have different roles and responsibilities, and so we support that as part of my job. That's a big deal downtown. That's a big deal in general. They basically operate. For me, they operate all the hydro dams automatically. They're able to take control. They can take manual control of it. Of course, you can do manual control at the plant, but standard operation is it runs to a schedule generated by river forecasting in Knoxville. So every 24 hours, all 109 hydro generators get a schedule that tells them turn on at 9 o'clock and generate 10 megawatts, and then 1 o'clock, bring it down to 5 megawatts. It just depends. But we have a lot of other things going on. Like Tim said, cybersecurity is a big deal. It's constantly evolving. If you're a computer science person, this might be of great interest to you to get an internship where you can get involved with cybersecurity. And that's not going to be localized just to TVA. Any manufacturer, any kind of job you're going to have is going to have some kind of cybersecurity going on. I'm involved with that a little bit on our system, but we have another section of generation services that's their main focus. I'm involved in instrumentation and controls, like I said before. So in addition to that, though, we have like a plant specialist. So we I got here like turbines. Like we have engineers that are focused specifically on turbines, and these are our experts basically. So if something was going on at a coal site and they thought they had a problem with a turbine or something in the boiler or burner, all these different components, we have engineers that specialize in just that, and they're heavily involved in any kind of upgrades or modifications to those things. And they get called by the plants routinely, for advice and troubleshooting efforts. Also leading troubleshooting efforts, we have field support engineers that are typically assigned to regions, and they're also kind of broken up into gas, coal, and hydro. Kind of has the regional engineers in addition to my group, which we're focused specifically on the controls, and they can have mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, focused on these 3 power plants that are in a region, that kind of thing. So I spoke a little bit on the Monitoring and Diagnostics Center. These are guys that do a lot of software programming and kind of work with us a lot, because we gather the data in our PLCs and such, and they will take these data points and they will create what they call a model, which are essentially just trends that they can watch, and they can set flags and things like that that'll alert, hey, we've got this vibration on this type of bearing, and we know by watching the trend of the bearing, if it starts looking like this signature, or however you want to think about it, like a wave or a trend, they can kind of detect when things like that are beginning to happen. We can prevent a failure from happening by planning a maintenance outage to replace a bearing. Things like that is what they get to do, and it's really cool. And they're constantly just coming up with new ways for us to save money and prevent things like that from happening. And I spoke on reliability and regulatory compliance. I personally have not been very involved in this group, but I do work around these guys, and they're the ones that kind of get in the weeds on a event analysis and reporting to NERC, and trying to constantly improve our reliability and meeting industry standards, kind of thing. I've already talked about it a lot, but I think the next slide I have here is I was going to tell you a little bit more about what I do. So we call it the Integrated River Operations Control System. Basically, hydro automation for short, or ACS, automatic control system. Like I said, all these generators run to a predetermined schedule every 24 hours, determined by river forecasting, which has another program with, called WaterView, that we work with those guys too. And it's this massive algorithm that
I think we lost you, Wes.
There's been internet outages everywhere. I had to download it on my phone to get this working.
Okay, maybe we'll just go ahead and throw it to Breland to keep the presentation going. And if Wes comes back, then we'll see if he has the over.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I was just talking. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm back. Okay, so yeah, so the way we accomplish this, we have PLCs. Those are programmable logic controllers, and we have them at every dam, and we have a lot of different redundant communication schemes where we can connect to those PLCs from downtown, and we can do live troubleshooting of if they're having a problem starting a unit. This is how all the alarms come in to the shift operations center and the operator stations located at the plants. This is kind of what our system does. So we have 6 people on our team, and we always have somebody on call. It's a rotation. So we have a secure room that we're able to perform a lot of these functions from, and we get calls routinely from either the shift operations center or a plant. And a lot of times there's no problem with our system, but we can aid in troubleshooting with the plant technicians on site, because we can see things that they can't see because we have access to the live data and trends and such. So I'm also a system administrator for this system. So we work on firewall servers, routers. We have different types of communications. I mean, you learn a little bit about everything. I mean, we even use radios for some of the tailwater warning system, because they're located in areas where you don't have, like Cherokee National Forest, we don't run fiber from the Whitewater Center to the Covey 3 Dam. We have a radio signal. So, I mean, you learn a lot of different things on this system. Like I said, I was not an intern on this job, but I do work with a guy that was. He started this job as an intern, and I wish I would have. So if you have the opportunity, not just this job, but power operations, you're going to learn a lot of stuff, and we all work together. So Tim was talking about the balancing authority. I was on the phone with him yesterday. I was at Pickwick Dam looking at an issue that I couldn't really resolve because we're in a power system alert, so we're not able to really do any non-essential maintenance right now, but we're constantly in contact, and we work a lot with transmission as well for these to meet these communication ends, and we're also involved in upgrades and plant outages and things like that. Anything that's got to do with hydro plants and the generation that happens there typically is going to involve us, because the standard way operating it is the hydro automation system. So I guess that's all I have. I don't want to keep anybody real long. If anybody has questions, I could get a lot more specific, but as far as a high level overview, that's I guess, yeah, spillway and tailwater warning systems. If you're ever at a dam and you see the lights and the horns going off, that's also our stuff that's doing that. We maintain that. And don't fish near the dams. Don't do that. I see people do that all the time, and all we can do is warn them. We can't make them leave, but it's very dangerous. There's been a few things in the news just this week about some fishermen that got too close to the dams. So anyway, yeah, so Breland was an intern, and with that, I'm gonna pass it on to him, and he can tell you a little bit about his experience.
Thanks, Wes. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Breland Grant. I just recently converted to full-time. I was an intern with TVA for a little over 2 years. I went to Tennessee Tech up in Cookeville. I was a math major and a computer science minor, and I was just really lucky to get this opportunity with TVA. And I hope that through what I talk about today, you'll be able to see, you know, what TVA can offer you in terms of an internship. You know, you can see, even so far, we have a lot of breadth. So I'll talk about some of the depth that I have experienced here at TVA. But my current role is a mouthful. I work in asset reliability applications in Power Operations as an operational data analysis specialist. And that is pretty general. I do a few different things. I've took a sampling of some of the things I've been working on in the past few days. And so I'll just talk through them a little bit. Number one, that is SQL. That's you know, we have a lot of data at TVA, so I was querying some data so that we could make a report for our business partners. And number two, was able to make a Power App so that we could more quickly and efficiently locate some of our high-level reports that we use in Power Operations as a sort of an organization enterprise level. Number three, that's a database that I work in a lot called Maximo. It's our enterprise asset management system, and I do a lot of data cleaning, and I approve or deny security roles based off of credentials or business needs. Number four, I work on data dashboards and reports. And the query in number one is actually for number four. So that's a really interesting place to be as well, because you get to work with a lot of different people and implement programs and processes through data, and you can, you know, monitor the health of those programs and processes. And then number five, that is some VBA code. We're all about efficiency at TVA. So that was an attempt to automate some loading features into the database. So next slide, please. And, you know, so that was my role then. But, you know, my internship at TVA really prepared me to be able to do that. And some of the major themes throughout my internship at TVA were process visualization, understanding, you know, the mechanics behind, you know, what we do and why we do it, data processing, which is, you know, cleaning, transforming, querying, all of those different things, basically data access and data quality. I did some data modeling, which is part of my role now. And that's just, you know, predictive or, you know, historical data that we like to look at. And then also I was fortunate enough to be able to also get in on some project facilitation programs and projects. And that was also really cool to sort of understand the organizational aspect of, you know, some of these different activities that we do at TVA. Next slide. And one of the things that it just makes me giddy, it's just so exciting. As a math major, sort of a nerd, but TVA gave me an opportunity in Power Operations to do research, and that is just so cool. And I get to do data modeling with something called a Weibull distribution. And a Weibull distribution, it basically, you know, it's looking forward into the future based off of historical data of failures. And we want to predict when are our assets going to fail? When do we need to make a really big investment in our assets so that we can continue to serve our customers reliably and at the best price? And, you know, it took a little digging, learned a lot about it. Initially, one of the things, you know, you look on Wikipedia and sometimes you see these citation needed things. So I did a little bit more digging. So if you go to the next slide, I had to do these derivations, and it looks really freaky, and that's because it is. It was, but it was so fun. And you know, what other program can you be a part of that lets you work on something like this? Like, this is just, you know, you consider these like big issues that we have in terms of, you know, how do we structure our investments, and then you can, you know, being data driven and project focused, you can really nail down some of these ideas and answers with, you know, data and modeling. So if you go to the next slide, that's another one of the derivations. And then if you go to the next slide, using those derivations, we were able to make a calculator so that we can get some useful curves so that we can understand the risk that we have associated with our assets and make better decisions, hopefully, as a business. Next slide. And then another cool thing that happened from that was that I got a research opportunity at my university at Tech, and to work with TVA and sort of going forward, how can we refine this, you know, formulated procedure of quantifying risk associated with asset failures. And I got to present at Research Day at my university, and also got to send this back to TVA so that we can use it in the future. Next slide. And then here, yeah, we can go ahead and click through some of these until it fills the screen. Yeah, okay. So this is, you know, a very high level visual way that I associate with my internship. I'm a numbers guy, so, you know, I won't go through all of these, but you can see there's a lot of cool things that you can do, and they're varied. You know, I was involved with 6 different teams in my special business unit, and I was involved with 8 different business units across TVA. That's almost all the business units. You get so much exposure at TVA to so many different people and programs. It's awesome, and this could be your internship experience right here. I mean, you know, maybe different numbers and different things, but you can have the same level of variety and depth that I had. Okay, next slide, please. And along with that is that we also like to give our interns site visits. So since I'm in power operations, it was my goal at the beginning of the summer to do coal, gas, and hydro visits. And here's some of the, you know, places that I got to go and things that I got to see. It was really fun. Next slide. And we also got to do a lot of activities. So we have executive speaker series, you know, you just make friends and you hang out with those friends after work. Maybe not right now, but in the future, definitely. We, you know, intern community is a real thing, and it's really awesome at TVA. You know, go to lunch with your interns, go hiking, and we, you know, we have a lot of activities embedded at TVA in that as well, and service programs as well. Down in the bottom left, we went to the food bank and got to serve. So, next slide. Here's some quick stats about power operations: 5 fossil plants, 17 gas plants. As Wes was saying, 29 hydroelectric dams with 19 non-power dams. Power operations makes approximately about 47% of TVA's energy mix. 800,000 tracked assets in power operations with over 1,200 types. Over 21 billion in asset replacement costs. We have over 20,000 work orders and over 270 active crews in power operations. So a lot of variety, a lot of depth, a lot of opportunities. And next slide. Yep, so with that, I guess I'll go ahead and turn it over to Melissa.
All right, well, I'm kind of worried, you know, I mean, I'm passionate about IT, but all that other stuff that Breland was just talking about sounds really exciting and fun, but well, hello everybody. I joined late, so I didn't get to hear introductions, but I bet they were awesome. Am I able to advance slides, or are you driving, Miss Kelsey? You're driving, okay, go for it. So you can just skip on through to the first. Yep, who are we? So I want to introduce myself as well as Brandon, who's with me. So if you hop to the next slide. I am Melissa Crane. I work in IT. I'm a senior manager of technology solutions. I'm actually on the strategy and engagement side. So, you see, if you've ever seen the movie Office Space, I'm a people person. I'm that person who serves as the strategic liaison with the business partners. You've got to have the folks who can help understand what the business needs and then bring that back to IT. I'm a UTC alumni. I have a BS in marketing and an MBA. So I don't have an engineering background. I don't have a computer science background, but I have found myself in IT for the last 16 years. So I really love sharing that message with folks and telling them not to be confined to their degree. Because if I had been confined to my degree, I would have seen the offer from IT and ran the other way. But instead opened it up and said, okay, let's try this. Let's see, because there's always a place for someone. So I started as an intern as well. My intern experience was awesome, but not as cool as all the neat things that our program now offers. It wasn't as formal back then, but I'm really just seeing some of those pictures from Breland of the just the community that he got to be a part of. Is such a great way to just dip your toes in at TVA and see what's going on. I did get to go out to plants. I was a part of way back, it was a long time ago, when we were looking at how we were operating the reservoirs and how the water comes up by the beginning of summer and it goes back down at the end of summer, was a part of that. So there's really neat things that you get to plug into as an intern. So I started as an intern and then I hopped on over to IT, and once I've been in IT, I have been all over the place. Most recently, strategy engagement. I've spent a significant amount of time in applications development. My passion probably is in that space, to be with computer engineers and developers. I've supported the office of the CIO as a senior advisor for the Chief Information Officer, which is a really cool experience because you get to see all the way across the organization. I've been in project management as well as cybersecurity, and was the people person in cybersecurity as well. So that's a little bit about me. Brandon?
Hey guys, my name is Brandon Bonner. I'm an intern currently in strategy engagement, and my department is technology and performance excellence. So basically what I do is I work with departments within strategy engagement to deliver different technology solutions. And I also serve as a member of our Process Automation Center of Excellence, where we're focusing on delivering process automation technologies across TVA. I'm almost a UTC alumni. In August, I will finish up and receive a Bachelor's of Science in Accounting and Finance. And I've been at TVA for 1 year and 6 months. And I've actually started my internship in financial services with renewable energy. And my main role there was to do research and analysis on new technologies that could enter in the utility market, and research on how TVA could use those. And I will be starting full-time employment upon my graduation in August. So super excited. Like Breland mentioned, the intern community is an amazing thing here at TVA. There's a ton of people that you're going to meet. I've met multiple friends that I still keep in contact with even after they've moved on away from TVA. So just a great program to be a part of. Go to the next slide.
So go for it.
Go ahead. So I think Melissa's going to go first on what do we do. You can go into the next slide.
So we don't have fancy pictures. After I saw Breland, your numbers, I was like, oh, Brandon, we should have used our IT by the numbers, all the exciting. We have X amount of servers and applications and stuff. We know for next time. So this is just kind of high level our organization so that you guys can see what we have, and there's a lot of opportunity for internships within here. So we've got the strategy and engagement organization. Like I said, we're that strategic liaison. We're working on the strategy and the 3 to 5 year plans. As well as Brandon's in this organization, he can talk more about it, about what they're doing in the automation side. So he's got some cool tech stuff that's happening in that space as well. Cybersecurity, we are all about ensuring that our systems are reliable and available. And so there's a lot of monitoring. They have a really cool cybersecurity monitoring center that we've got over here downtown. A lot of neat things happening in cybersecurity. Development and operations, that is everything packaged up from our infrastructure support. So you've got the hardware, software, and middleware all within the development operations organization. as well as integrations and things like that. Data governance analytics. This is a new organization for information technology. We've always had, we've had like our enterprise data warehouse and reporting, and it's been buried down within our development organizations. But we really are trying to build an emphasis around this. I mean, the need for the skill set of data analysis and what we can do and how we can empower the enterprise through this group is really growing. And this is a space that we're really trying to build up that skill set, not only within the information and technology organization, but across the enterprise. Because we talk to our business partners about self-service and really giving the tools out into the organization so that they can do what they need to do the data analysis. We've got portfolio management. This one for me has always been one that I love because it's about prioritizing our investments, looking at our financial position, looking at what the IT budget is and how are we going to spend it. We only get so much, and we have projects, we have capital projects, O&M projects, as well as we just have to keep the business running. So we've got to understand what that looks like and really work to prioritize our investments that we have in that space. We're also, you've probably seen us in the news of some decisions that we've made to go to vendors for more of our work. So there's a vendor management office that's within this organization to start helping us more. So even though we may be leveraging vendors for some of our like development work, our infrastructure support, we still need to, we've got TVA resources as well that are helping us manage that and ensure that we're working on the right things. And then finally, you have end user services. So think help desk, that's also monitoring of all of our systems. So not from a cybersecurity perspective, but monitoring to make sure that our data is flowing appropriately. And incident management is also there. So yesterday, for example, in our space, we had an issue with our data flows in the financial area. So incident management jumped right in to ensure that we were working to resolve that incident. So Brandon, you want to add and go deeper in any of the areas?
Sure, absolutely. So I'll echo what Melissa said earlier. One great thing about TVA is you're not limited by your degree. I'm a business major, so the last place I expected to be was IT. But I started out in the business, and I'm proud to say that in both roles, in my first internship in financial services and now in IT, the tasks that we do aren't typical intern work that you would maybe see portrayed in movies or whatever. You're actually doing entry-level work. So in my current role, I've had the opportunity to develop a few things using Power Apps, which is a Microsoft application. I think Breland touched on it briefly. I've actually made an intern onboarding tool that we rolled out this year to the intern program. I've done some data analytics using Power BI and Tableau in both roles. So, any department that you might have a passion for or drawn to, there's definitely opportunities for you to learn more about it, and your skill set more than likely can be utilized there. So just remember as you go into TVA, keep an open mind. You never know where you're going to end up. And another thing is technology is everywhere, regardless if you're in IT or in transmissions or power ops. I mean, you've seen everybody's talked about what technology they're using and how important it is and how vital it is for the success of our company. Go to the next slide.
Oh, my exciting day, y'all. So now that we're at home, my coffee runs aren't as exciting as they used to be. I will admit I am a Starbucks junkie, and so I would enjoy my walk, 2 blocks up the street to at least get to enjoy Starbucks and the baristas on Broad, as I called them. But so gotta have my coffee. I have 2 kids, and that keeps me going. So I'm a senior manager right now. My team is quite small. There's only 7 of us. In the past, that's been quite larger when I've supported other organizations, but it still tends to jam-pack my calendar. So my calendar pretty much looks like this little busy calendar over here. I'll get up, I get my coffee, I check the calendar for the day, because I feel like things always hop up on that calendar that I didn't pay attention to the day before. So sometimes I will be honest, I am living minute by minute. I check in with my team because there's so much going on, and right now we're in an organization that we're standing up. So strategy and engagement is new to the IT organization. Not that we didn't have strategy before, but in the past, like my previous role, I supported transmission And I owned the strategy piece, the engagement, as well as the execution. So I had the developers that supported all of their 1,000 apps that they had in their portfolio, as well as I was responsible to help develop strategy. So we focused on execution. We focused on what was blowing up, and we never got to focus on strategy. So we've got a new team. We're really focusing in on that, but that means there's a lot going on, and we're building lots of processes. So usually my team gathers at least 3 times a week just to make sure that we're not stepping on each other's toes. I'll usually attend the plan of the day. So that's the IT meeting that's going through every single change that's going to happen that day or for the next few days. They're usually talking about what's happening in the business too. So first of the month, we're closing the books. We're working on our power billing. We don't need to be doing things that will impact them. When we're in a system alert like we are in right now, that's a conversation, because if there's a change that needs to happen, we have to talk through, okay, can this wait? Can it not? What are the requirements around that? Most of my day is spent with the business partners. Like I said, I'm the people person. I really enjoy that part of my job. I really love getting to go out. I miss that for not being in the office. So I've been doing a lot of this and I just stare at the camera all day. But work with the business partners, and I work with all levels from VPs all the way down to individual contributors. We talk about what's going on in their space. So right now I support finance and external relations, who have like our EPBs of the world, our LPCs, as well as human resources. So they've got a lot going on, and we can't do it all. So we have to talk about what do they need, and we negotiate. I feel like I tap dance a lot is what I say. I feel like I'm on camera trying to make sure that we can get what the business partner needs, but sometimes I have to find a middle ground because we can't deliver all of it. So I spend a lot of time negotiating and putting out fires. Would have never thought this is what I was going to enter into when I left college, nor when I went into information technology, because it doesn't seem, there's that piece of it that you have to have. I have employee discussions all day long. Again, like I'm a people person. When we're in the office, there's people in my office constantly, and I love it. And I love cookies. So I love coffee and cookies. So that's my normal day of what I do. And it just happens day after day. Brandon, you're probably way more exciting than I am.
Well, typically I start out my day with breakfast. Even when we're in the office, there's cafeterias at TVA, so it's important to eat breakfast. Next thing I do, of course, check email, check calendar, and see what my day looks like. I typically have maybe 2 to 3 meetings a day during really busy weeks, and then sometimes I won't have a meeting, but maybe once a day. And our team has a planner board, so we use Microsoft Planner to kind of plan out all of our projects and things that we have going on, and it helps just us keep focused and have a tracker of what we're doing. And typically I touch base with my manager if needed. Mitesh actually worked with me over in the business, and then he came over to strategy engagement and he stole me from the business. So we've kept a really good relationship, and so he's been really great. And I'm going to pause there real quick because I just have to brag on TVA for a second about the managers that I've had. So my first manager was in renewable energy. Sydney, he was just an amazing manager, very caring about my future and my career at TVA. Or if I didn't want to go TVA, he made sure to give me skills and build my skills and traits that would prepare me for the workforce, regardless of where I was at. And Mitesh, my current manager, same exact thing. Very supportive in what I want to learn and help me and empowers me to be able to accomplish that. And then I'll begin working on whatever projects I have going on. So this varies quite a bit. Like I said, I've developed some power apps for different business units and departments within strategy and engagement. I've done some data analytics. I've been able to do some research on emerging technologies, both in IT and in renewable energy and the utility space. I've been able to do some training and train individuals on how to use technologies that we have at TVA. So SharePoint is a big one, Power BI, of course, Power Apps, Power Automate. And I guess the last thing is our Process Automation Center of Excellence. So right now, TVA is looking at robotic process automation to help automate some of our business processes that are really redundant and repetitive to make us more efficient. And so, yeah. And then I don't drink coffee that much, so maybe a cookie. But yeah, that's it. Next slide.
So I think Brandon already touched on this, and we'll say it again. When he and I were just touching base yesterday, talking through, why would somebody want to come work with us? Why would somebody want to intern with us? We talked about the fact, and we may be one company. We have one mission to serve the people of the Valley, but there are so many opportunities. I've found that really cool. Even though I have stayed in IT by choice for the last 16 years, I mean, it's a company where you can come and I could work a few years and then I could go find a whole nother path. There are so many opportunities across the entire agency that you'll never get bored because there's always something different to learn about. So that's just something that's really awesome. And there's something else and now I forgot it. So Brandon.
I think I have two main ones. So first thing is technology is everywhere in our lives, in our work, school, so forth. And I think it's important to find a company that realizes technology is important and how to utilize it effectively. And I think TVA is taking steps to try our best to utilize technology. And I think that will set us up for success. And the second point, and probably the most important to me, and that's what stuck with me through my internship and through the rest of my career, is TVA really does have a mission of service. So when you come to work here, you're not just trying to do your one task and deliver power to the Valley. You're trying to empower the Valley and contribute to the Valley. So it's very, whole company. Not many companies that I've worked for really focused on providing service to everyone, community service, outreach, and giving back to the community. So.
Yeah, I'll second that on the mission. I step back and I think about that at times, and I think about what companies, and there are other ones too, but what companies can you really stand behind that mission and get really excited and passionate? And that's what you'll find as you meet the employees of TVA. We're very passionate about that mission and serving the people of the Valley, and that's just really cool to work for a company like that.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you, Brandon, Melissa, and everybody else that has spoken so far. I hope everybody can really feel, like they were saying, the passion and the dedication to this job, because it's something that everybody at TVA has. And even if, you walk in and you're like, okay, maybe I like the mission of service, maybe I like our safety culture, like you get so just wrapped up in it. And you actually embody it both inside and outside of TVA. And it's something that has really permeated my life. And I feel just a connection to TVA, and I love this role. And as you can see, I have the internship program up here. I'm Kelsey Kate. I forgot to introduce myself just then for standing on my soapbox, but I am the University Relations Coordinator for TVA. I actually started as an intern myself back in June of 2018, and I started off in diversity and inclusion. And at the time, I had no idea what that meant. I know that I had an internship, and I was starting my graduate program at UTC in the fall of 2018. So I just knew that my job was around people. My internship was to help people and to get to know everybody and make sure everybody has a really good experience at work. And so this past May, I graduated from UTC actually with my master's degree in industrial organizational psychology, which is probably the longest title for a degree that I've ever heard. And we like to call it IO Psych just to keep it short and sweet. And it's, in a nutshell, my job would be to help make other people's jobs better. And I never wanted to grow up and be a real adult. And I thought that's the coolest job I could get, is my job is to make other people's jobs better. And so that's really helped me work in diversity and inclusion, figuring out how to make people's jobs and lives better when they come to work. But also I got the opportunity to kind of dabble in the internship program maybe March or April of 2019. And I had no idea what the internship program really was or what it was about. So I kind of was stepping my toes in the water thinking, I'll do this, but I really like diversity and inclusion, and ended up loving the internship program. And if you would have asked me, a year ago, if I would have ever thought I would become a recruiter, I would have told you absolutely not, right to your face in a heartbeat. But this job has been so much fun. And like everybody else that's spoken today, I'm super passionate about the internship program, and I'm ready to show you guys Tamara Stewart, who spoke first today, we are both partners for the internship program, and I'm excited to show you what we've been working on for this past year. So I wanted to start off with some pictures. I know Breland's put some pictures up there, and it was a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about with this slide, is just community, the stuff and the events that we put on for the intern program for all of our interns, which we have as of this morning, I want to say 142. So we have quite a few and quite a few more requests to get for the fall and spring upcoming. But this is stuff that we like to put on. We like to do volunteer days. We like to take you on site tours and plant tours. We want you to build your business acumen. We want to get you in front of executives. We have executive leadership speaker series. And actually, Breland, I think you're in quite a few of these pictures now that I'm looking at it, if you can point yourself out, or I guess pick yourself out. But we want to give you all the opportunity to make friends, to get exposure, to develop yourselves, and to really feel like you're a part of the TVA community. Because when you walk in, you have no idea how big it is. And so part of our job, and if you become a part of our internship program, is getting the opportunity to actually, I guess, delve into what TVA actually has to offer, which is a lot of stuff. And so that's part of our job, is to give you the opportunities to do that. And so this summer looked a little bit different than last summer. So all the pictures except the one in the bottom right corner are from last summer when we were actually in person. We got to do a lot of fun events. And this year it's been virtual. Our internship was virtual, and it's actually gone really well. So we're going to implement that again for the fall and spring, just to make sure that everybody stays safe and healthy. But I took a picture of one of our orientations that we did virtually this summer, and it wasn't, you know, the same because we weren't face to face, but everyone was still super engaged and excited and ready to begin their internship. So you can see all of our little faces on WebEx in the bottom right-hand corner. All right, our program purpose. What the intern program really wants to do is identify and develop our interns and make sure that we have people in a pipeline to be our next generation workforce. We want to provide meaningful work and challenging developmental opportunities and experiences. And so I've highlighted meaningful and developmental because that's something that if you are an intern at TVA, and I'm sure that Breland, Kevin, and Brandon will all tell you over and over, is that they hear these words come out of my mouth and Tamara's mouth all the time, is that meaningful work and that sense of professional development, because that's something that we really truly believe in. It's something that's really important to me, is to make sure that you aren't like an intern getting coffee runs and going to get the mail and maybe just filing cabinets and doing all those sorts of things. That's not what happens here. And if, you know, something like that randomly does happen in your internship, we help change that, and we make sure that you do get meaningful work. And professional development, that's something that I've really taken on as a passion project more than anything. And it's really been able to culminate this summer as I started my full-time employment back in January. So I've decided this summer it was going to be all about professional development. That was going to be our theme. So I made sure we had an intern portfolio. I made sure that we had developmental workshops such as resume building, interview skills and tips. Oh gosh, what was the last one? Professional branding that Tamara actually put on to know how to present yourself in front of other people and know who you are and be able to, at the drop of a hat, tell them all the reasons why you're great. So our interns are really prepared while they're here with us, and that's something that we really like to do. So I'll quickly go over just like some perks of our intern program. We have a wide variety of job locations, and we also give a lot of job rotations. And so that's kind of what Breland and Brandon were talking about. They have been able to move internships. They didn't stay in one place forever. They were able to be in different areas of our business and gain multiple areas of exposure, and just to build themselves and get that other experience to build, I guess, your skill set. And you can see our service territory in blue. We've already shown that slide, and I just wanted to shrink it there. Anywhere that's in blue, anywhere that we have plants or sites, you're welcome to intern at, as long as there's a need for you. So you don't have to stay in Chattanooga if you don't want to. You don't have to stay in Nashville or Memphis or Alabama or Mississippi. You can intern anywhere, and that'll be a nice little plug for down in the right-hand corner for our virtual internships. You may be at school this fall or spring, at UTC doing your work and going to classes, but you could be an intern for a plant that's maybe in Alabama. So that, although the coronavirus has kind of thrown a wrench in a lot of plans, it's also opened up a whole lot of doors to be able to do virtual internships now that we're still figuring out and fine tuning. But we also offer competitive pay rates, and we give interns the opportunity to do capstone presentations. And I know you're probably like, wow, why would I want to do a presentation for my internship? I didn't think this was school. But we really want you to showcase what you've done. And it's not something that's graded. It's not something that is horrible and you have to be like, oh God, I don't want to do this. It's like a 5 to 10 minute presentation where you get to show who you are, what you've done, the skills you've learned, and what you've worked on. And so this is a really good way to make sure that you get an internship or a full-time job, because other people are attending these capstone presentations and they may be like, wow, I really, really loved Breland's presentation. I'm picking on you because I can see you. You're at the top of my little list. So it may be like, yeah, Breland's presentation was great. He's got the skills, he's got the knowledge, he's got the drive, the ambition that I need for my group. So I'm going to ask him if maybe he wants to join my group. Or maybe I have a full-time position that's opening and Brandon is about to graduate, so maybe he would want to come and be a full-time employee with my group. And so there's so many benefits to the capstone presentations that I don't think are abundantly, I guess, people see right off the bat, because you just hear presentation, you're like, oh my God, I have to stand in front of people and present. And it's really not that bad. But these are some perks that I think are unique to our intern program, and really what makes our program more robust than other ones that we've benchmarked against. So we have some eligibility requirements for our intern program. You do have to be a full-time student. You do have to be at least 18 years old. You can be a graduate or undergraduate student pursuing any number of degrees that you want, but it's not limited to just like a normal engineering degree. To get a normal engineering internship, you can do vast number of things here at TVA. You must be able to complete a fitness for duty drug test and a background check. You need to have at least 30 credit hours of course credits. So just be, by the time you start your internship, just have completed your freshman year is pretty much what that translates to. Have at least a 2.75 cumulative GPA if they're on a 4.0 scale, and be able to meet requirements for a citizenship policy, which can be found on our TVA website. So I think this is my last slide for key dates. I just wanted to give you guys some awareness of what we've got going on. So our spring application is open now and it'll close on October 30th. Our fall term will start September 21st. If you've applied, then interviews are starting to happen and calls are starting to be made this week and next week for interviews. So if you have applied to our fall internship, you should hear back soon. Our summer application opens October to February. And our spring term will start January 25th. So just keep in mind as you're planning out your school schedules, and if you want to intern with us, here's just some key dates for you to keep in mind if you want to join our team. All right, and I know that's a lot of information that was thrown at you. It is 2:25. I know that's only 5 minutes worth of questions, but I hope you all can see that we're really passionate about our company and our respective programs, but we all have a lot of collaboration. We all are very knowledgeable, and I picked every one of these speakers to come today because I knew they'd give you all valuable information. So I'll open the floor for questions in the next 5 minutes if anybody has any.
Yeah, I actually had a question for Tim for the transmission.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry, I was muted.
I was just wondering, how would the job be affected whenever, or if the smart grid would be applied throughout the next upcoming years? Like, how would the transmission system change because of the smart grid?
So really, we always joke about this. We feel like at TVA, and I think we're not the only ones, when we talk about smart grid, we have, and Wes talked about this, we have a lot of relays and PLCs that we use across the valley to do auto sectionalizing, trying to determine where their fault is. So we feel like, jokingly kind of, we have a smart grid. It just could be smarter. So what we would do, and we have a lot moving in that direction, that what I mentioned with the Grid 2023, or Grid of the Future, where we would enhance more controllers to do auto sectionalizing. EPB, one of our local power companies, of course, that serves this area, is great at this. And so it's what we're learning a lot from them. We're learning a lot from other industries, and they're learning from us as well about how do we make our grid smarter with fiber. I didn't talk about that, but we have an initiative here at TVA to install, over 3,000 miles of fiber across the valley. And of course, that opens up a lot of opportunities for relays and communication to make decisions on the system that are smarter decisions. So that is work in progress. We're getting there. But there's a lot of opportunities there. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we have an abundance of work ahead of us with making our grid more smarter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
cool.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask a question, if that's okay. This can go for Kevin, Braylon, or Brandon. Do you have any specific advice if a student is interested in applying for an internship on how best to prepare, or maybe some tips on the interview process? Anything that you think would be helpful for a UT student that's about to seek out an internship for fall or spring?
I have some advice. Have a polished resume, obviously. Make it very clear what you're bringing to the table, and also probably the biggest part, and honestly the reason that I got my internship, was I approached TVA with an open mind. I didn't say this is exactly what I want, and this is what I want, and if it's not a good match, then I guess it doesn't work. It's these are the skills I have. What do you have that fits these skills? Like, where do you need me? What are the opportunities I could have? That was my perspective on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that a big thing also is get involved. It's going to be weird with this semester on how much you're going to be able to get involved with extra things going on in campus. But if you have that opportunity, definitely try to. There's networking events and so forth that TVA will host at UTC, and that's a great way to meet, people at TVA. And I've known colleagues that have landed jobs through networking events at TVA. So definitely recommend those, and just getting involved with as much as you can.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on to that, just try your best to network and talk to people at TVA. And you guys are already doing the right thing by coming onto this here. Get involved. I know I applied to an internship once. I don't think I heard back, and then I kept trying. Fortunately, I worked at a restaurant that's across the street from TVA, so I would harass everyone that came in asking if they were engineers, what they did. And I was finally able to slide my resume to a couple people here. So just keep trying to get involved, network with people at TVA, ask questions.
Thank you, Kevin. And then Kelsey, I wanted to just ask so that students are aware. I know that the spring internship application for TVA is open. Can you tell them where to go to apply? I know sometimes it's on Handshake, but I'd also seen you post on LinkedIn, just so that they know where to go to search for that information, and also what positions are available. Do they need to go directly to the TVA website? What would be the best approach? Yeah, of course. So we primarily post our spring internship positions and every internship position on our tva.com/careers website. So you can just follow the steps. It'll be like view jobs, and it'll take you to a whole list of jobs that are open at TVA at the time that you go to apply. But it'll say spring internship position, fall internship position, summer internship position. So apply there. That's where I mostly direct people to go. If you follow me on LinkedIn, and if you don't and you want to, you're more than welcome to do that after the call today. But I will normally post our job positions on LinkedIn as well, and a lot of other opportunities that we have at TVA. And I will say, when you do apply, I kind of want to hop on the last question that you had for the other interns. And Breland mentioned your resume, and this is something that actually Tamara she'll tell all the interns we come in contact with at career fairs or at any event that she speaks at, and I'm going to kind of hop on that as well, is make sure your resume is polished. And if you have anything on there that is leadership opportunities or cool things you've done, even if you've traveled or studied abroad, make sure that you present yourself in the best light, and that it's always up to date with your graduation date, your GPA, where you go to school, the major or majors that you're seeking, even minors, and cool class projects that you've done that really show why you're a good fit for TVA and what experience you have already gotten, because as a recruiter, when I'm looking through all of your resumes, I want to see that info to make sure that you are a good fit for us and to show that you have really dove into your degree and done the cool stuff that I know you've done. So just make sure that those kinds of things are on your resume before you apply, because that'll really set you apart from other applicants.
Perfect. Thank you for adding that info. Sometimes they ask, what do I need to put on there? In your opinion, sometimes students ask this question because you said to add, class projects and things like that. Do you have a preference on a one-page resume? Can it be longer than that? I know a lot of times our students will have two, depending on how much experience that they've had in the past. Is that okay for it to be longer than one page?
I actually don't mind if it's longer than one page. If you have that much experience to show and tell, then I would love to look at it and see all the cool stuff you've done. Don't feel like you have to be confined to one page. If you've got a second page and it's only got a few little lines at the top, maybe try and squeeze that all into one. But if you have enough to fill up, a page and a half, 2 pages, then go for it. All right, I know we are 4 or 5 minutes over time, and I don't want to keep anybody, so I just want to say thank you for everyone on this call, everyone from TVA for joining us and for giving, just an overview of what you guys do and how passionate you guys are. I picked you all for a reason, and I know that's really shown through today about how awesome you all are and how good at your jobs you are. So I would also like to say thank you to UTC for having us and Nicole for reaching out and for helping me get this set up. And if there's anything you need, I will send all of our contact information to Nicole, so she has every single one of our email addresses, and feel free to reach out to any one of us for any questions that you may have.
Thank you guys. I know you're busy.
Thank you.
Taking time out of your day to give us some more information and insight. I actually learned a lot from the presentation, so I'm sure we'll be in touch, and hopefully we can have some future events maybe like this moving forward, obviously depending on how things transition with COVID. But I will share this presentation with our students, and you all are welcome to reach out to me as well if you need anything. Thank you so much.